Well, welcome to a special session here. We're so excited to have back our friend Jason M. Baxter. Jason is a college professor, translator, and author of several books, including The Medieval Mind of C.S. Lewis, Why Literature Still Matters, and new translations of Dante's Inferno and Purgatorio. He has also voiced an audiobook of his translation of Purgatorio, which is primarily what we'll be talking about today. Jason also writes about the role of the arts in our technological world on his Substack, which you can find by typing in Beauty Matters. And Jason is currently the executive director of the Center for Beauty and Culture at Benedictine College in Kansas. Although today he is joining us from Barcelona.
It's true,
Welcome,
yeah.
Jason.
Hopefully I'm representing the city well. Yeah. My technology is low, but but from Barcelona, that's right.
Hey, that's the way you like it.
Well,
Yeah,
we're
that's
all
right. Yeah.
sitting here in ice, wondering what kind of beautiful weather you're having in Barcelona. What is it
You
there right now?
you really want to do that?
No, no. Yeah.
It's miserable. We had spend a half hour shoveling out of get out of our apartment today. That's what you want to hear, right? No, it's nice. It's like Austin weather.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
so it's in the 50s, but it threatens to get to 60 tomorrow, which would be lovely. And
Yeah.
that's the day that we're going to climb the Tower of Sagrada Familia.
Ooh.
Yeah, Anthony Gaudi's great cathedral.
Now, are
So
you
yes,
taking the 5-year-old and the 3-year-old up the tower, or will you guys take turns, or what will you do?
well, thanks for asking. Yeah, no, for safety reasons, that they won't let any little kids go up the tower. So I'm actually giving it as a gift to my wife. So my wife's going to go up and she's going to take the teenagers and the 9-year-old, and she's kind of a huge tower climber. She just loves it. So I'll take the little kids and maybe we'll go find chocolate.
Wow, that is fantastic. What a
Yeah.
tremendous gift, too. That is wonderful. I love it. Well, you have made me very happy when I received your Substack post email
That's
saying
right.
that you had recorded your own translation of Dante.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell
Well,
us
you asked
about
for
it.
it. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And here
You
it
and
is.
Cindy asked for it. You said, gosh, it would be great to have hear your voice reading your translation. Yeah. So I did. It was a wonderful experience. I think in ways that I think probably will make a lot of sense to your readers and to your listeners, that this process of narrating your own narration was really incredible. And I realized as I was just sort of going through it that hopefully in a in an exciting way, I was giving personalities to Dante and a personality to Virgil and to Beatrice. And I mean, obviously, some of the passages that I think are sort of particularly poetic, I was able to slow down and give them their lyrical quality. Some of the passages, with some of the minor characters, I think I was able to do just enough sort of light voice acting to try to make them distinct from all these talking people. And it was really cool. It was really fun. It was really beautiful. And, I think, one of the things that all of us are interested in is this incredible process of narration of when I sort of reach down inside and try to find the words to describe a situation, then as I like to put it in my book, Why Literature Still Matters, right? We begin to close the gap between what we admire and who we are. Or as I like to say, um, by means of wonder, we become what we love. And so I think for me, well, obviously sort of giving life in Dante's translation to begin with, right? And I write about that on my Substack. Wait, do we really need another Dante? Exactly what I was up to. And so I think that was the sort of first act of trying to give new narrative life to an old book. But the sort of second act of reading it, and I thought it was a really fun project in which I was able to, yeah, to give it a fresh life. Anyway, so and I love audiobooks. I oftentimes go back and forth between ears and eyes. And I know a lot of busy people who are taking care of little ones and doing dishes and, driving to soccer or, even just going to the gym, appreciate having things for the ears. Anyway, so yeah, it's been a really fun project. I did Why Literature Still Matters. This one I think was better because Why Literature Still Matters, I just read it, right? And it was fun, but It was an argumentative essay, whereas this was fiction. And so I think it gave a difficult author whom we know we ought to love, right? The Mount Everest of literature, as Rod Dreher calls him, right? Kind of gave it a fresh life, and hopefully it'll make it much more accessible, and less intimidating for people who are, want to do it for the first read for the first time or would like to revisit.
So I know you love poetry and that you speak frequently about poetry. Do
Mhm.
you write poetry yourself?
Um,
We're not going to ask
um,
you to share a poem.
yeah. I have a half dozen poems that I have written, and under sort of, in really intense moments of joy or discouragement or what felt like revelation, I did sort of jot down some poems and I worked on them. But I mean, it's funny for me that, I mean, I guess this is just going to sound very classical, but I don't think I could write poetry just because I wanted to write poetry. I think you have to wait for it. I think it's a gift. I think it's an inspiration, and then a lot of times, and just this a particular line will fall into your brain, and it has a certain type of cadence, right? It has a certain type of rhythm, and you go, wait a minute, that's a really good line. What comes after that? So I think that's actually very analogous to how Lewis described, creating Narnia, right? That he just saw a fawn with a package and an umbrella standing under a lamp. And he went, wow, weird. What is that? And then he built the world in which that creature made sense, right? And then he says Aslan came bounding into the whole story, right? And sort of against even Lewis's, original designs, made it more or less a Christian story, right? Anyway, so I have written some things, but then I'm so disorganized. Don't ask my wife about it, but I'm so disorganized that I don't know where they are. Some of them were really good, I think. I wrote a poem. I wrote like a little lullaby for the birth of my first daughter. And I think, being a man who went to an all-boys school and only had a brother as a sibling, I think all of a sudden having a baby girl awakened something which was absolutely extraordinary. And I wrote about it. So hopefully that thing is not permanently lost. But I mean, you might have to wait for the posthumous collection.
Okay, yes, your
Yeah.
wife in the attic
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
finding,
She'll go find it. Yeah. All six poems. Jason Baxter's posthumous
yeah.
poems, right? Yeah.
Well, I asked that
Yeah.
because I feel like that's what you kind of bring this kind of poetic reading and
Hmm.
translating to
Hmm.
obviously to this poem
Hmm.
that was
Mm.
already written. And
Mm.
I think that
Yeah.
probably is really important part of that, like
Mm.
to understand that
Mm.
the way I love that you describe poetry as being made in that way because in a way maybe your translation is kind of made in that way also.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's a great. Yeah, I know. I think you're right. I think for a good translation, it has to have scholarly accuracy, right? You're not making your own creative fiction, right? As one of my friends put to me brilliantly, like, Jason, I just saw there was a 13th century Italian translation of your poem. Way to go, bro. I'm not making a new poem. Dante's not the translator. I am. And so as a scholar, I have a lot of fidelity to that. And that's obviously that's a tricky thing, and it takes years and years of learning. And you have to sort of develop your ear. You have to ask, well, not just what was significant to Dante, right? What had he read? What do these things mean, et cetera, et cetera, right? And I write about that kind of stuff in the introduction. But I think in the meantime, you had to have a poetic sensibility. So, I mean, here's how I thought about it. That, if you could, it's kind of a silly experiment in our age of technology, right? But if you could hook yourself up and measure your pulse and, take your EKG readings of your brain and measure the dilation of your pupil while you're reading through Dante, and you could make a sort of like emotional data cloud of the responses, kind of a silly thought experiment, right? But if you could somehow record it, what it actually felt like, and then go through and find the English equivalents to evoke those same types of emotions, even though you're in a different language, that would be a good translation, right? And that's what I aimed to do, of course. But obviously that is, I think, as you've, intuited, Cindy, that's a really poetic exercise. But I think, I've been really, really attentive to how my words sound for a long time. I think that's in part teaching, but I think it's
Oh, we got a lag here, so hopefully he'll catch up.
About Tolkien, right? Oh, am I back?
Yes, you're back. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but
Good.
we lost you there. Maybe
Yeah.
you were talking
Spain.
faster than the internet or something.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. Yeah. No, I guess to make a long story short, yeah, I think that sort of rich, poetic, poetic landscape is something that I want to recreate in English to the extent I can to evoke the same emotions that Dante evokes as a reader.
Now, will you be going back to Inferno and doing an audio of that also?
I will. Yes, I'm excited about that. I'm going to do that when I get back to the US and get back to the studio this summer. And but yeah, so that's on that, but that will be after the translation of Paradiso, which I'll be working on through this spring in Florence.
Oh,
Wow. Oh,
fun.
so you're there for a longer period of time. You're not just there for a quick
Yeah.
trip right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm teaching a class to my students called The Beauty of Holiness and the Holiness of Beauty. And it's about the
Wow.
relationship between Dante, the painter Giotto, and Franciscan spirituality. So
Wow.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
sounds fascinating.
Yeah, I hope it's good. Yeah, I think it is a fascinating topic. I'd like to know something about this. Yeah.
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 So if
Sure.
people want to listen to this audio recording,
Mhm.
where the first thing they're going to do is probably go to Audible, and it's not on Audible at this point.
It's not
Um,
unaudible at this point. Yeah.
yeah. So
It
where would they find it?
Mhm. So I've got it available in three different places. On Bandcamp,
Mhm.
which is kind of a collective of artists, and the profit sharing is, I think, a lot better for makers and designers. Amazon gobbles up almost 80% of every single sale, um, and for their own purposes. But in any case, so it's on Bandcamp. And they have an audio player which you can skip canto to canto. So you can go sort of, through 33 different canti. It's also on my website, jasonmbaxter.com, in my little bookstore. And you can download your own audio files there, but it comes in four big chunks. So you would like have like 1 to 7 and then 8 to 16. So you can't, when those kind of types of audio files, you can't go like, skip to skip to skip from canto to canto, but you can download it from the website. And then it's also available on my Substack for my paid subscribers as a thanks to them. So three different three different places to get it.
Well, that's a huge incentive to sign up for your paid subscribers on Substack. That's a great benefit. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's cheaper than an Audible subscription. Yeah, yeah,
There you go.
That's
yeah,
great. That's great. Well,
yeah.
Jason, how did you prepare for this task,
Mm,
especially with the,
thanks for
you
asking.
explored with different voices even. I want to know more about
Yeah. Oh, I think you're gonna love this answer. I think it's just having 6 kids
it.
and honestly reading to them every single night for the past
Oh,
19 years, right? Um, and I mean, I think, when my oldest, who's now a freshman in college, was little, beginning, I mean, like two, I mean, maybe even already one, she had an incredible appetite for stories.
hmm.
And I realized, well, I'm going to spend a lot of time doing this. I better make this worth my while. And so I really thought, you know what? I'm going to give her a Broadway quality performance of
Yes.
Brown Bear, right? And so I think, whatever it was, I tried to put my heart into it, in part just to entertain myself, but in part to try to give it life to her. So I think it's been 19 years of practicing, like, reading literature for the kids, and as they got older, reading Tolkien, reading Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia, and then giving, enough sort of voice acting that Caspian has a character, a personality, or Aslan or Gandalf. And yeah, they sometimes point out to me like, Dad, that's your Gandalf voice, right? Yeah, like that's you need to come up with a new voice, right? Yeah, so I think that's it's been really kind of DIY. I guess this is what you get when you were homeschooled by your mother. Thanks, Mom.
Oh,
Right? I
Mom.
see, I think sort of, homeschool voice actor. And my wife and I joke about that a lot, right? Homeschool voice actor, homeschool translator, right? I think for me, a lot of this stuff is just kind of feeling my way through it until like, yep, that's it. That feels good, right? That's right. That's what I need. Anyway, so I think, yeah, very Charlotte Mason, I think, kind of training behind the my book.
All
Yeah,
right,
that's
you're right. I do love that answer. That's brilliant.
yeah,
Yeah.
it reminds me of a mom that just said something on the Literary Life Facebook page about she's reading a really a little bit more higher level book to their 2.5-year-old, and he's
Mm,
carrying this book around and going through it and kind of narrating the
mm,
pages. It's like a chapter book, but not a very
yeah.
hard one. But for a 2.5-year-old, it's very
Hmm.
advanced, and how
Yeah.
amazing that is that these
Yeah.
kids grab onto this language.
Yeah, that's right.
And so
Yeah,
it's
no, I think,
so
yeah,
fun to
yeah.
sit and practice. And I know more than one homeschool graduate who has gone on to be a voice actress or actor. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I think that just sort of that element of performance functions as a de facto commentary for the child, right? And
mhm.
I think if you have a parent who works really, really hard at becoming a good storyteller. My wife purchased when my oldest was little, she purchased a book, How to Tell Good Stories. And we read it
Oh,
together and would sort of practice with her in in the bathtub and things like that. So I think, yeah, I think you're right. I think when it's a good performance, I think you can kind of, level up, upgrade your kids' reading comprehension in part just because the very tonality of your voice helps them, you know, figure out difficult words or, dense passages, right? Well, as I think as we've said before, right? Your children get what you love for free.
Mm.
What you don't love, they will only acquire through great effort, which can be done as well, right? We have to work hard as well, but yeah, I think that's just an incredible gift to give through love, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm kind of curious, how long is the full audio recording? Do you know?
Yeah, good question. I think it's about 4.5 hours.
4.5 hours. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not terrible.
Yeah.
there's such reasonable, they're so
Yeah.
intimidating to so many people,
Mm,
including myself. So I'm not trying to make myself seem like it's not intimidating to me, but they're so accessible in terms of the time really necessary to commit to them.
mm.
They really
Yeah, that's right.
are.
Yeah, no, I think that's why there've been all these kind of Dante campaigns, right?
Mm.
Because it takes about um 8 to 9 minutes to listen to me read one canto.
Hmm.
Now, of course, right now we're talking about Purgatorio, so there are 33 of them. And when we get the Inferno, we'll add 34 there, and then Paradiso will be another 33, so we'll have a perfect 100, right? But for just 100 days, 10 minutes a day, you could get through a canto. And if I'm right about what I'm suggesting, that the very aspect of performance is also a kind of commentary, then this might be listening to just one a day, 10 minutes a day, you could, get through the Purgatorio, which a lot of people say is Dante at his finest.
Mm.
Yeah.
I've heard that. I guess you get out of that inferno and you feel just a little easing of the tension at that point in time. There is a tiny bit of hope there. So,
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, when I finished Inferno, I was actually kind of psychologically and emotionally exhausted. And so, but I mean, that's what Dante wanted. And he had
Right?
sort of built in the soundtrack that happened. So when I turned to the obviously it's a huge deal to me, not just what Dante says, but the very soundscape of it, and I really worked hard on that. So I suppose your listeners and viewers could just go listen to me read Inferno, or sorry, Purgatorio 1, in which I think Dante really tried to put as much sort of like gentle, smooth color as possible. I have that just available for a free listen to see if it's any good. But I mean, I actually do think this is this vain. I think I can actually say this without being vain. I think it's the best on the market. And that's not necessarily a compliment to my book. I mean, I'm really proud of it. I am actually. But the competition is kind of weak on Purgatorio. As you can
Oh.
imagine, there are many cool different versions of Inferno, right? Everyone loves Inferno, right? You can get that read by professional actors like Anthony Hopkins, right?
Wow.
I really think this is the best sort of Purgatorio on the market. But maybe I'll go try to beat Anthony Hopkins too when we
I
get
was
to it.
just going to say, I am
Yeah.
expecting big things out of your Inferno then, if I
Yeah,
can by
hopefully I won't
Anthony
go
Hopkins.
overboard. Inferno
well,
by
he's had
Jason
Simon
and
Vance
Baxter.
do his
Yeah.
books, and so he's probably learned a little bit along the way about what makes a good audiobook. So I
Yeah,
wanted
that's
to
right.
ask
Yeah.
you, yeah, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
No, no, I was just affirming, yeah, that Simon Vance, he was too busy. Anyway, but Don said, you know what, Simon Vance is great, but you do it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Okay,
Oh,
we'll give
I
it a
think
go. Yeah.
that's what we asked for. That's what we got, and we're very, very
Yeah.
happy
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
at the New
New
Mason
Mason jar
Jar
got it. That's
to
right. You
have
got it.
this.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah. So, do you have anything else you're doing at this point? I mean,
Oh,
I think you have
yeah.
another book out, don't you? Coming out besides these Dante books?
So, yeah, I actually have a ton of stuff going on, and yeah, it's exciting. I mean, the big thing is I got to stay focused, and I gotta do this Paradiso, and I think the Paradiso is going to be an extraordinary experience, in part because I'll be in Florence, and in part because I think that what Dante saw, the visual arts of his day, really affected how
mm,
he thought he was using words.
mm,
In particular, I think when Dante was a boy, they started decorating the ceiling of the Florentine baptistry, which you probably we probably all know that because of the Ghiberti, gates of paradise, as Michelangelo called them. We don't often go in, but if you go in and you look up, well, maybe not now's a good time because it's going to be under scaffolding for 6 years. But when it's done, when you go in and look up, you'll see this glorious mosaic that tells the history of the world. Um, and I think Dante probably saw that as a kid and probably watched these craftsmen taking these individual little shards of glass and gems and gold and then sticking it into the wet plaster to make these mosaics. Something like 10 million individual tesserae they have to clean individually right now. But I think that's what Dante thought as he was creating his Paradiso, especially,
mm.
that he had to go sort of word by word to make sure everything sparkled. So that's one thing that I'm up to. I'm also making a young adults novelization of Dante's Inferno, which
Wow.
yeah, which is I think my poor wife. These projects seem really good and easy, like 2 years in advance, and but then sometimes they kind of take on lives of their own. And this one, I think I've all of a sudden thought, oh yes, that's how it can go. And so I've finally got the setting for it. It's Dante talking to you, and you're sitting by a fire in a medieval inn, and you've just asked him, "Is it really true? Did you really go to hell?" And Dante sort of says, "Okay, let me back up, and I'll tell you my life's history." And so hopefully in a kind of fun way, I'll do some of this stuff in a narrative that I've done as a scholar for college students.
Wow.
But tell the story of Dante's new life, his conversion to love and to poetry. Anyway, so those are the big things that I'm working on this spring.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
Wow.
Offer up
I
your prayers that we'll get them
Yeah,
done.
for
Actually,
sure.
I'm going to
Yeah.
pray for your wife because I don't know if you've ever read a
That's much more
biography
intelligent.
of
Yes.
the Rossetti family. There's a really great book called The Rossettis in Wonderland,
Mm,
and it goes through the dad. A lot of it is the dad's obsession with Dante, the
mm,
father of
right.
it's the Dante Rossetti and
Yeah.
Christina Rossetti, their father. Um, was quite obsessed with Dante, and anyway, listening to you talk, I think, oh, it must be like a disease that takes over someone and they can't do anything else. They
I
The
are
think so.
Dante
Yeah.
virus.
Yeah. I think she's
Caught the
comfortable with that.
Dante
Yeah.
virus for
She's
sure.
comfortable with that. Yeah. Yeah. Like
but
that's what
thank
happened to
you
my
for
husband. Yeah.
infecting us also and letting us catch a little bit of the bug too. That's very, very helpful for
That's
all of
good.
us.
Well, hopefully, yeah, hopefully that new audiobook will make people go, "Oh, that's why everyone is talking about it." Yeah.
All right, thank you, Jason. I am going to hit this. Thank you, everybody, for listening.